The Manson family murders may have occurred over 50 years ago, but their haunting legacy refuses to fade. We've explored the psychological manipulation, the twisted philosophy, and the chilling acts of violence that define the Manson family. But the story doesn't end there. The most disturbing question remains: how has Charles Manson's influence endured? And what does his legacy reveal about the dangers of extremist ideologies today? In this final chapter, we'll examine the lasting impact of the Manson family murders on modern cults, extremism, and society as a whole. From social movements that echo Manson's rhetoric to the terrifying resurgence of similar ideologies, we'll uncover how Manson's dark philosophy continues to shape the world in ways we still don't fully understand. While the Manson family murders were isolated in time and space, the ideals that Manson spread during his lifetime still reverberate today. Manson's belief in helter-skelter, a race war he thought would lead to societal collapse, was not a unique concept. It mirrored the apocalyptic ideologies that have been present throughout history and have resurfaced in modern times. The rise of extremist groups, white nationalism, and radical cults in the 21st century echoes many of Manson's core beliefs, and we must ask ourselves, how much of Manson's ideology is still out there? What makes Manson so dangerous, even in death, is his capacity to inspire individuals or groups who feel disenfranchised or disconnected. Manson promised a new world order, a revolution, and many of his followers truly believed they were playing a pivotal role in shaping the future. His message was simple: find meaning, trust the leader, and commit yourself to a cause that transcends the mundane. Today, we see the same tactics used by fringe groups to gain traction among vulnerable individuals. These groups prey on disillusioned youth, much like Manson did, and offer them an ideology that promises belonging, identity, and even salvation. The danger is not just in the violence these groups incite, but in the seductive nature of their rhetoric. Just as Manson manipulated the young women of his family, modern cults manipulate the isolated and disillusioned. Manson's role as a figurehead for extremist ideologies isn't just a footnote in history. It's a warning about how these dangerous movements continue to evolve. He set a dangerous precedent for charismatic leaders who can make people believe that violence is justified in the name of revolution. Manson's ability to recruit and control followers was predicated on isolation and manipulation. But in today's world, isolation is no longer necessary for recruitment. Technology and social media have become powerful tools for cult leaders, extremists, and conspiracy theorists. The digital age has opened up new avenues for leaders like Manson to spread their ideologies and attract followers, making it easier than ever for dangerous ideas to find an audience. The rise of social media has allowed extremist groups to target vulnerable individuals worldwide. The isolation Manson imposed on his followers is no longer a requirement today. People can be influenced, manipulated, and radicalized from the comfort of their own homes. Algorithms on platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter enable these groups to tailor their messages to individuals who are most susceptible to their beliefs, using sophisticated methods to appeal to their emotions and fears. In many ways, Manson's ability to control his followers and push them toward violence can be seen as a precursor to the kinds of digital manipulation used by modern-day extremists. Just as Manson used fear, paranoia, and a sense of belonging to draw in his followers, social media and online forums are now being used to radicalize individuals who feel disconnected from society. As we look to the future, we must consider the role of technology in fueling these dangerous movements. Manson was able to create a reality for his followers now. Those realities are being constructed online, in echo chambers, where people are exposed only to the information that reinforces their beliefs. In a world where facts are often overshadowed by conspiracies, the risk of another Manson-like figure emerging is greater than ever. While Manson's death ended his direct influence, his methods of control live on in the form of modern-day cults. Today's cults, whether religious, political, or ideological, continue to rely on the same techniques Manson used to gain and maintain control over his followers. These include charismatic leadership, manipulation of emotions, isolation from the outside world, and the use of fear and paranoia to maintain loyalty. What makes modern cults even more dangerous is the use of mass media to spread their influence. Where Manson once relied on a small group of devoted followers, today's leaders can attract millions through television, the internet, and social media. From charismatic religious leaders to political figures who promote division, we're seeing the same tactics used by leaders to manipulate and control followers, often with even more devastating consequences. Manson's ability to convince his followers that they were part of a larger, world-changing mission still resonates today. In a world where people are searching for meaning and purpose, the allure of a leader who promises to guide them through chaos is powerful. The danger lies in the fact that, just like Manson, these leaders often manipulate their followers into violent actions, all in the name of a cause they claim is righteous. The resurgence of cult-like movements today serves as a stark reminder that Manson's influence is still alive in modern society. Whether through religious cults, extremist political movements, or even conspiracy-driven communities, the lessons of the Manson family murders are still relevant. The Manson family murders are more than just a chilling chapter in true crime history. They are a warning about the dangers of manipulation, blind allegiance, and the power of charisma. As we've seen, Manson's story is not just a relic of the past. It's an ongoing cautionary tale about the vulnerabilities in human nature and the dangerous impact of unchecked ideologies. Manson's ability to control his followers wasn't unique. It's a tactic that has been used throughout history and continues to be used by extremist groups today. Whether through traditional methods of isolation or the modern-day use of technology, the ability to manipulate and control others remains one of the most terrifying aspects of human psychology. The question we must ask ourselves is this: are we as a society prepared to recognize and resist the manipulation that Manson so expertly used? Are we aware of the warning signs of cult-like behavior? And can we protect ourselves from falling prey to leaders who prey on our fears and insecurities? The Manson family murders may have been a singular event, but their legacy is one that continues to resonate, influencing everything from pop culture to the rise of extremist ideologies. As we look to the future, the story of Charles Manson serves as both a cautionary tale and a reminder of the dangers that can arise when one person gains too much control over others. The story of the Manson family murders may have come to a close, but its influence is far from over. As new cults rise and new leaders take hold, the question remains: will we be able to recognize the warning signs and stop the cycle before it's too late? The Manson family murders may be a chapter in the past, but the darkness they unleashed continues to echo in society today. Charles Manson and his followers didn't just commit murder, they exposed the terrifying potential for manipulation, blind devotion, and the power of a charismatic leader to turn delusion into violence. But as we look at the world today, we must ask ourselves, what have we learned from this tragedy? How do we stop the cycle of manipulation before another Manson emerges? And most disturbingly, are we truly aware of how easily we can fall prey to dangerous ideologies? In this final part, we'll look at the lasting impact of the Manson family murders, the lessons we should have learned, and how to recognize the warning signs before it's too late. Manson's influence might have started in the 1960s, but its consequences are still very much with us. The story of Charles Manson is often framed as a gruesome historical event, but the reality is that Manson's methods of manipulation didn't die with him. The techniques he used to recruit and control his followers, psychological manipulation, gaslighting, fear, and paranoia, are still employed by leaders in cults, political movements, and extremist groups today. Manson's obsession with an impending race war, his belief in a twisted form of societal collapse, and his ability to convince people that murder was justified in the name of revolution have not been confined to his family. The late 1960s. We still see these ideologies propagated by individuals who claim to have the answers, who claim they know what will save society from chaos. What makes Manson's legacy particularly disturbing is that it didn't just end with his cult. The very mechanisms he used to manipulate his followers, isolating them, exploiting their vulnerabilities, and shaping their worldview, are the same tactics used by modern-day leaders. In fact, the growth of white nationalism, conspiracy theories, and far-right extremism in recent years shows just how relevant Manson's influence still is. His apocalyptic vision of a helter-skelter race war has resurfaced in today's rhetoric, finding new ground in the minds of those who feel disconnected or aggrieved by the world around them. The most unsettling aspect of Manson's legacy isn't just the way he manipulated his followers. It's the fact that similar ideologies are being perpetuated by leaders who use modern technology to reach an even wider audience. Social media, online forums, and digital spaces allow these extremist ideologies to spread at an unprecedented rate. Just as Manson's messages reached his followers through isolation and propaganda, today's extremist leaders use the internet to manipulate and recruit vulnerable individuals, from radical political groups to fringe religious movements. The tactics remain eerily similar. They promise belonging, purpose, and a new world order, just like Manson did, and they use fear and anger to keep their followers loyal. The internet has created new echo chambers where radical ideas can grow unchecked, and the ability for cult-like ideologies to flourish is more present than ever before. In the case of Charles Manson, the internet didn't exist, but his ideas were able to spread through his personality and word of mouth. Today, these dangerous ideologies can be amplified with just the click of a button. And the most terrifying part, the tactics that Manson used to manipulate his followers have only been refined by technology. The damage caused by Manson wasn't just physical, it was psychological. His followers didn't just commit murders, they had their minds warped, their sense of reality completely distorted. Many of them spent years in prison, trying to come to terms with the fact that they had been used, manipulated, and abandoned by the very person they trusted most. The psychological manipulation Manson used on his followers is one of the most frightening aspects of his legacy. And while we may like to think that these tactics are a thing of the past, the reality is that they're still happening today. It's important to understand that psychological manipulation doesn't just happen in isolated groups, it happens on a global scale. Leaders in cults, extremist groups, and even corporations use similar tactics to control and manipulate people. So, how do we protect ourselves from falling into the trap of these manipulative ideologies? Awareness. The first step is being aware of the tactics that cult leaders use. Isolation, fear, manipulation, and promises of belonging are red flags that should not be ignored. If something feels too good to be true, or if a leader is demanding total loyalty, that's a warning sign. Critical thinking. We must encourage the ability to think critically about the information we receive, whether it's from social media, the news, or even people in our lives. We must question everything and seek out diverse perspectives. Cult leaders thrive on groupthink. Don't let yourself be swept into it. Open dialogue. Manson thrived on keeping his followers isolated from the outside world. In our connected society, we must encourage open communication, whether it's within our families, workplaces, or communities. We must foster an environment where dissent is welcome and people feel free to speak up about what they're being told. Support systems. One of the key reasons Manson's followers stayed loyal for so long was because they didn't have other sources of support. It's crucial that we continue to build support networks in our communities, places where people can find help if they feel manipulated or isolated. Ultimately, the story of the Manson family murders isn't just about one man or one group, it's about society's vulnerability to destructive ideologies. Manson capitalized on the fear and confusion of a generation, promising them a place in a new world order, and many followed him blindly, willing to sacrifice everything. Manson's legacy should serve as a dark mirror for us. It forces us to ask, what makes us vulnerable to leaders who manipulate us? How can we stop the cycle of extremism, isolation, and violence? It's not just about understanding Manson, it's about understanding how similar ideologies and manipulation can take root in our own society. As we conclude the story of the Manson family murders, we're left with an uncomfortable truth. The factors that made Manson so dangerous haven't disappeared. Instead, they've evolved and continue to shape the world today. The question is, will we continue to let history repeat itself, or will we recognize the signs and break the cycle before it's too late?